Hi, everyone. Welcome to Unchained, your no-hype resource for all things crypto. I'm your host, Laura Shin, a journalist with over 2 decades of experience. I started covering crypto 6 years ago, and as a senior editor at Forbes, was the first mainstream media reporter to cover cryptocurrency full-time. Sign up for the Unchained Daily newsletter, where you will get all of the top crypto news of the day. Also in the daily, you can find out how to pre-order my book, The Cryptopians: Idealism, Greed, Lies, and the Making of the First Big Cryptocurrency Craze. Head to unchainedpodcast.com, and the sign up for the email newsletter is right on the homepage. Tezos is smart money that's redefining what it means to hold and exchange value in a digitally connected world. Discover how people are reimagining the world around you on Tezos. Today's episode is sponsored by EY Blockchain. Ernst & Young is committed to supporting integration of the world's business ecosystems on the public Ethereum blockchain. The Crypto.com app lets you buy, earn, and spend crypto all in one place. Earn up to 8.5% interest on your Bitcoin and 14% interest on your stablecoins, paid weekly. Download the Crypto.com app and get $25 with the code LAURA. The link is in the description. Today's guest is Nick Tomaino, founder at 1confirmation. Welcome, Nick.
How's it going, Laura? Good to see you.
Nice to see you. You just closed your third round. Congratulations. It's a $125 million new venture fund. But before we get into that, since we've actually never had you on the show for a long interview just about you, why don't you tell us about your background and 1confirmation?
Sure. So my background, I kind of fell down the rabbit hole back in 2013. And I was just a random person on the internet in Portland, Maine. And a lot of people talk about, why they fell down the rabbit hole, whether it's for technology or economics. And for me, what initially drew me was kind of the social movement that I saw happening online back then. I, like a lot of people, read this Wired article about this magic internet money that was being used to buy guns and drugs on Silk Road. That was the early media narrative, as you well know.
And I think, wasn't it a Gawker article, or maybe it was a different one?
There were a few. I think different publications were writing about it at that time to get clicks. And I've always been an online community person. So dating back to like middle school when I was interested in comic books, high school when I was interested in sneakers, I've always wanted to dive online to online forums to see kind of who was talking about things that I was interested in. So when I first read this article, I was intrigued. I jumped onto Bitcoin Talk, which is the first online forum that Satoshi actually created, and r/Bitcoin. And what I saw was kind of underneath the surface of the media headlines, there was this really passionate community of people from around the world who weren't aligned by physical location, meaning they weren't in any one particular location, but they were aligned by a shared belief system, meaning they all kind of believed in the values of Bitcoin, and economic incentives, meaning they all owned Bitcoin. And to me, what got me so excited was when I saw these people forming based on values and economics, and I saw a social movement happening, and that's when I kind of decided I want to do something in crypto. Talked to every different founder in the space at this time. I was meeting with the BitInstant team in New York City and Skyping with Mt. Gox. These were some of the early leaders at the time. And I connected with Brian and Fred of Coinbase. And actually, I was one of the first couple hundred users of Coinbase product, which kind of led me there. Reached out to Brian and then joined shortly after that. So that was kind of how I, long-winded way of telling you how I got in the crypto space and kind of what drew me. And I had a great experience at Coinbase. And back in 2017, started 1confirmation, and here we are.
And so far across your two previous funds, you had raised $70 million. What has your investment thesis been over time, and how have your bets played out?
So our thesis is very simple. Back kind of authentic founders that have deep historical context on crypto that are building products that we understand as users. I think there's a ton of different ways to make money in crypto. For us, we've kind of stuck to what we understand and what we get excited about as users, and that has treated us well. And that's kind of what we're going to continue to do. I think there's a lot of investors in the space that are trading based on memes or fundamentals or there's a whole bunch of ways to make money. But for us, it's products that we get excited about as users. And again, that's kind of what led me to Coinbase back in 2013. Back then I was buying Bitcoin by taking out cash from an ATM, wiring it to Mt. Gox via Western Union, and that was the best way to buy Bitcoin at that time, right? And then Coinbase came along and was just this product that made it dead simple, and that's kind of what drew me. And so we kind of let the products guide our investment thinking, and yeah, it's gone pretty well. I mean, it's kind of allowed us to invest in DeFi before DeFi was a category, NFTs before NFTs was a category, and now these categories are of course very hot, but we're kind of thinking about what's next. I think by focusing on product, it allows you to kind of ignore a lot of the noise in the space.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I have plenty of questions for you about NFTs and DeFi because obviously I did see you were so early on those trends. As for this latest fund of $125 million, what do you plan to do with that money?
We're going to continue, the strategy that we have been executing, which is, invest in companies, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs as well. We tend to focus on bleeding edge technologies, right? So we like to be early money in at the kind of pre-seed or seed stage and write checks, anywhere between a million and 3 million. And we also take kind of core cryptocurrency positions. So that's kind of the strategy that we've been executing. And yeah, the new fund, it's really just a continuation of what we've been doing. And it's a slightly bigger fund. So, some of the sizes of investments and things like that may increase a little, but, we really just want to kind of continue what we're doing. I think focus has treated us well.
All right, so let's talk about NFTs. As we mentioned, you were very early on the NFT bandwagon, and I have been noticing you've invested in kind of a diversity of different NFT plays. There's OpenSea, which is a bigger platform, Superware, which is pretty focused. Fort or Forte, I'm not sure how to say that. Um, so first of all, let's just talk NFTs generally. Why do you think they've taken off so much in the last several months?
Well, I think they're bringing new people into the space in a way that nothing else in cryptocurrency has, right? Like I've been waiting for, my brother, for example, who's like outside of crypto and, isn't that interested in finance to get excited about crypto. And that's happened with, something like Top Shots, right? So kind of NFTs are bringing in people who are interested in sports or music or art, culture outside of crypto in a way that nothing else has. Up until NFTs, it was very kind of finance, money, and certainly kind of finance, money is part of NFTs as well. It is for a lot of people still about making money, but it's kind of combining finance and culture in a really exciting way. And I think it's just getting started. Like NFTs right now are mostly just kind of static files that you can't do much with, right? You can show them off in your home on a digital frame, or you could show them off on your OpenSea profile, but you can't use them in virtual worlds or in games and things like that. And I think that stuff's all coming. But yeah, I think what really catalyzed it in the past 6 months was just so much culture coming in and making money. And so yeah, to be clear, it's still mostly about making money now, but it's kind of combining culture and money in a fun way.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because this also is the first time I got my sister interested in a crypto, and she's an entrepreneur in fashion. And yeah, NFTs are also what finally drew her because otherwise my whole family was like, "Why are you always talking about this stuff?"
Yep, yep. And particularly, I would add what I really love about it is it enables a new business model for creatives, right? And like I've always thought that the first couple 100 million people that get into crypto, it would be they would buy it and invest in it. But like the billions of people that come in, I think their first way is going to be earning it. And so how easy it is for a creator to go on OpenSea and use their create tool to sell an NFT or a really talented artist to go on Super Rare and sell kind of a premium piece of crypto art, like that is really powerful, and it's bringing in new people, to earn rather than to invest or to speculate, and that's super exciting to me.
So it's interesting that we're talking about this because I did see that you did tell the New York Times that we're in an NFT bubble. And also, I saw you told Cheddar that there will be a secondary market, but you also said, quote, well, some of the stuff that's getting bought now at millions of dollars go down in value. I would say so. So kind of where do you see this vision with NFTs going? Do you expect a lot of these buyers will make money, or is it just mostly the creators that will? Or how will this kind of market end up, looking a few years down the line?
I think it's, the bubble is better for creators than retail speculators, right? What I like about this NFT bubble is it's like, it's artists and creatives, and it's not like opportunistic business people for the most part that are like, launching $100 million ICO, right? So it's, I think there are a lot of parallels to the 2017 ICO boom in that there's kind of an explosion of people creating, and there's an explosion of kind of retail demand to invest in these things. And just like in 2017, we saw Floyd Mayweather endorsing ICOs. Now we're seeing a different iteration of celebrities that are launching NFTs. And I think it's not to write them all off. I think there are some that kind of understand what's happening, and are doing it in an authentic way that I think could create long-term value for the retail investors that are investing in these things. But I think there's also a lot of cash grabs, just like there were in 2017. So yeah, I would say there's probably a small percentage of the NFTs being created right now that I would say will have long-term value. That said, just like in 2017, where a lot of these, what seemed like scams, they're still here, and the same could happen for NFTs, right? Because value is just about belief, and if you have people believing that these things have value, then they're going to continue to have value.
Well, so I know that as an investor, this may not be your area exactly, but I'm sure you've thought about this. And I just wondered, at this moment, as you mentioned, NFTs tend to be pretty static. There isn't a lot people can do with them. And so that kind of leads us to this moment where the main use case is speculation. But I was just wondering, over time, what do you think will eventually make a good NFT, or what sort of creative things do you see coming down the pike that you expect will become bigger trends?
Well, one thing I'm super excited about is NFTs within virtual worlds, right? The metaverse, which a lot of people are excited about. A recent example is MeBits, which you probably saw, a project launched by the Larva Labs team. The same team behind CryptoPunks, and I think I'm not sure that MeBits is going to be kind of the winner here, but the idea of like a 3D avatar that you can use as your avatar within a virtual world, as opposed to a static image that you could use maybe as your Avi on Twitter, for example. I think that's a step in the right direction. So I think kind of NFTs that you can use within virtual worlds, either as your identity or maybe to compete, to play games and things like that. That's super exciting. I mean, a lot of the NFT OGs remember when CryptoKitties launched, and there was an ecosystem, a small ecosystem that emerged on top where you could race your CryptoKitty, right? I forget what the name of that project was, but that was pretty cool. And I think we're already seeing that with things like Zedrun. I'm not sure if you've looked at that or covered that in the
No, I
past,
haven't
but
heard.
that's gotten a lot of excitement. It's basically virtual horses that you can collect and
Oh,
then
yeah.
compete in horse races. So this type of thing, I think, is still incredibly early. And I think when you can, we see the attachment people have to their NFTs now when it's just a static file. But imagine when you can actually use these to compete and to make more money and things like that. That's super exciting.
And so, as we mentioned earlier, you have invested in these different types of platforms. For instance, OpenSea is kind of like a catch-all platform. And then there are others like Superware that are focused on a specific niche. How do you think competition between these types of platforms will shake out?
Well, I think I get asked this question a lot because there's a lot of new NFT marketplaces popping up. And I think really just like any other type of marketplace, the long-term differentiation is kind of brand and product. I think that's how they're all competing right now. So OpenSea, for example, has a really strong brand as kind of the leading secondary marketplace for NFTs, and they have a really good product, and they've kind of innovated on product, at a really fast clip and added features that users want and really and stayed focused on that. So there's definitely an opportunity for other marketplaces focused on kind of other niches to build their brand around that niche, maybe focus on primary rather than secondary, and build a really good product. And that's kind of that's happening, right? We're starting to see marketplaces for music NFTs or different types of sports NFTs, and I think that's just going to continue. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's like to win as an NFT marketplace, you really, you need to focus on building a really strong brand. And there's a lot of ways to differentiate your brand and build a great product.
So, in a way, maybe what you're describing is that some of the specialized ones will be kind of like more primary sales, and then something like an OpenSea will be more focused on secondary sales. Is that kind of where you were going with that?
Well, that is the case, right? So OpenSea is like why they've really succeeded is they've been a general purpose platform for all NFTs, right? And Devin and Alex are really tapped into what's happening in NFTs, and they've been really quick to add new NFT projects, right? So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, Meebits launched, and Meebits very quickly was added to the OpenSea platform, and very quickly, tens of millions of dollars worth of secondary trading was happening on OpenSea. The whole OpenSea business, the reason why they launched it in the first place is CryptoKitties popped up, and CryptoKitties was charging something like 5% to buy, on the CryptoKitties marketplace. And what makes an NFT, right? At the end of the day, it's true ownership. So the idea of like a marketplace controlling the buying and selling of that NFT doesn't make a ton of sense. OpenSea saw that. They launched a secondary marketplace, and they decided to charge 2.5% instead of 5%, right? So that's kind of the OpenSea business. But there is room for primary marketplaces. I tend to think OpenSea, for a secondary marketplace, OpenSea is likely the winner. I think OpenSea is going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. If you look at their GMV, gross merchandise value, over the past 3 months, it's been over 100 million. They're going to have their biggest month ever this month. That's OpenSea. But I think, like we just invested in a marketplace for music NFTs. I think music NFTs are going to start exploding. So far, it's really been visual creators that are really capitalizing on this. But imagine when audio creators, and there are some that are doing like, Blau, he's created some awesome kind of audio plus visual stuff. But I'm pretty excited about just purely audio NFTs really exploding in activity. And, we just invested in a platform that's doing primary audio NFTs and building a strong brand around that because they understand the music space really well. They're going to curate to get really high end, emerging artists on the platform and things like that.
And so, what does that look like? Because in a way, it's funny because the logical side of my brain still feels like it doesn't get NFTs. And yet, when the Kings of Leon NFT was announced, I was like, I have to have that. And so on like yeah. I even, nice. And by the way, I paid $90 in gas fees for a $65 NFT. But anyway, obviously I seem to get it on an emotional level. But so I was wondering, for these music NFTs, are they going to be based on scarcity, or is it still going to be something, like the Kings of Leon NFT? I could get that on my Apple Music. So
Yep.
and yet at the same time, I felt the need to buy the NFTs. So I was wondering, just for these music NFTs that you're talking about, are they ones that, people will be able to get through their subscription music service, or will it be something that is scarce?
So I think collecting NFTs is all about authentic ownership, right? It's not about owning a piece of music that no one else can listen to, but it's owning the true creation that was created by the artist that you love. That is the case with digital art, right? Like this Robbie Barat, I own this. Anyone could show that off in a digital frame, but only I own the authentic version of that, right? And I think if Robbie Barat grows in importance in the world, then there will be demand in the future for authentic ownership. And so that it's the same is true with music. Like what I like about Catalog is the name of this marketplace that we recently invested in, catalog.works. And what I like about this marketplace is the team behind it is really plugged into indie music, right? And like indie music is not well suited for like the existing platforms. Like if you're someone brand new, Spotify, it's really hard to get distribution on Spotify. And SoundCloud, like 5 years ago, used to be really good for this, but SoundCloud also changed their algorithm. And so for like brand new artists, it's hard to break through and connect with your fans. And I think there's an opportunity for a new kind of indie music discovery platform. And so what Catalog is doing is kind of trying to bootstrap this new, discovery platform with a business model that can get these artists who have maybe 10 fans, but that really love them, that are willing to pay $1,000 for their authentic piece. So the hope is when like I've started collecting stuff on Catalog for some new artists that I love. And for me, it's not because I like want to be the only one to listen to this, or it's the music is scarce. It's because the authentic ownership is scarce. And I hope that the artists that I buy on Catalog end up blowing up, getting huge on Spotify. And then I think there's going to be more demand for like that authentic, first work that they dropped on Catalog. You know what I mean?
Okay. Right. Yeah. It's like having a signed version of the book or something.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Obviously, I've been talking about this on my show for months now, and a part of me is like, wait, why do these have value?
Well, one thing I've written a blog post about this, and I think this is this can be a helpful mental model. It's like humans fundamentally desire what others desire, and they desire what's scarce. And like you think about, if you own a house, right? I mean, part of owning a house is, you want to show it off to your friends and your neighbors or whatever. When you own a house, you show it off to a very limited number of people. Owning an NFT, it's this global thing that you can show it off to the world. And so I think that explains why like people are willing to pay millions of dollars. I know people that have paid millions of dollars for CryptoPunks that, that don't own their house. And I think that's part of it. It's this like kind of belief that more and more people in the future will desire this thing. And it's at like a global scale in a way that even like home ownership isn't. So I'm kind of very bullish on the long-term value of kind of very blue chip or high-end NFTs. I think you talk about a bubble. I think just like in 2017, like the high quality assets were good buys even at that time. I think kind of the same is likely to be true about NFTs because again, it's just like why does any cryptocurrency have value? It's belief. It's the fact that other people desire these things. Once the desire, gets going, it can, especially with like internet-based products, get really big.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the difference with these cryptocurrencies is that they have utility. Like Bitcoin has utility, Ether has utility. And yet at the same time, while you were talking, I just had this vision of Instagram feeds, right? It's like people kind of show off their experiences, but now with NFTs, they'll sort of show off their possessions. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
like a different way of showing status. which,
Yeah.
now that I think about it, I did see some commentary saying NFTs are basically a way to show status. And I think maybe the more I think about it, maybe that's what it is. But anyway, I like it, it's a hugely fascinating thing to me because obviously this just has taken off. It's gotten a bunch of non-crypto friends of mine interested.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, the logical side of my brain is like, why? I don't get it.
But just to challenge you on that, I mean, there certainly are some cryptocurrencies now that have utility and that a lot of people are using. But Cardano has a $75 billion market cap right now, right? Is that because Cardano has utility, ADA or whatever their cryptocurrency is?
You know, this is a good question because every time I don't know if every time, but often when I tweet now, I get spammed by these Cardano supporters who want me to do an interview yeah. And so I mean, it's fascinating, Another good example is Dogecoin.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, these cryptocurrency, it's belief, right? Why is everyone spamming you about Cardano? It's not because Cardano is useful to these people. It's because they own it and they believe it's valuable and they believe it's going to increase in value and they want you to talk about it, right? So I think NFTs are a good parallel. It's like it's the meme, but I think it's even more interesting because there's actually like a human creator behind it as opposed to these cryptocurrencies. So I actually think people could feel more attachment to a lot of these NFTs than they do, these cryptocurrencies. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah, I could see that. That makes sense. So I want to ask you a question about two people that I think you know well, who were recently on my show: Mark Cuban, who is an investor in One Confirmation, and Devin Finzer, the co-founder and CEO of OpenSea. And so Mark told me that his light bulb moment around NFTs was when he realized that creators could get royalties in perpetuity off the secondary sales. And then later, when I interviewed Devin, he said he thought people would try to get around paying those royalties, and that basically, like, that's not going to be a thing. Kind of, I don't know if he went that far, but he kind of said like the likelihood you're going to get the royalties as a creator is, you may not get them. So I was just curious
Mhm.
to hear your take. How do you think that's going to play out? Do you expect that buyers will try to pay that cut to the creators, or that they'll try to circumvent that?
I think there's definitely. I mean, the data has already shown that there are collectors that want to honor that, right? And so, Super Rare, for example, has paid out millions of dollars in royalties to crypto artists on Super Rare. So I think that's an important thing. It's hard to enforce, right? Because again, an NFT is about true ownership and people being able to do whatever they want with it. And so there may always be a marketplace that allows you to buy and sell it without giving that artist the royalty. And there's probably a segment of people that will always want to do that on the buyer side. But look, particularly on Super Rare, I can just say like there's a collector community that really values what the artists are doing and appreciates artists' work and wants to support artists. And it is really powerful that an artist, if we ever sell this Robbie Barat, Robbie will get a significant cut of that, and Robbie himself has already made tens of thousands of dollars in royalties from secondary sales on Super Rare. So I would say it's definitely happening. I think it's going to continue to be kind of a thing. How big it is and how much people actually honor that, I'm not exactly sure.
So, just for the people listening on audio, Nick, when he references this, he keeps pointing to a framed painting behind you. But I realize now it must be digital because I see a cord hanging from it. So, is that
Yes.
an NFT? And then that was a physical version that you got as for buying the
No,
NFT?
this is a
Oh, it's a
digital
digital
frame.
frame.
So this is called a mural canvas 2, which you could buy for $400 and put it on your wall and show off your NFT collection. So you download an app and yeah, I basically have an app that I can change it and it's fun, right? I can show off there's a Coldy Vitalik, which is one of my favorites.
Wait, what type of Vitalik?
Coldy is one of kind of the OG crypto artists. He's an awesome artist. He's one of the first creators on Super Rare as well. So this is one of his best works, in my opinion.
Oh, wow. Yeah, people, if you're listening on audio, you should come check out the video to see this version of Vitalik. It looks like, yeah, like a video game version of Vitalik or something.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So in a moment, we're going to have one more question about NFTs that I am curious about. But first, a quick word from the sponsors who make this show possible. Tezos lets you easily exchange smart money throughout our digital world. A self-upgradable blockchain with a proven track record, Tezos seamlessly adopts tomorrow's innovations without network disruptions today. Because of this adaptability, engineers, conservationists, entrepreneurs, collectors, game developers, and artists from around the world are building, creating, and using Tezos every day. Discover how people are reimagining the world around you on Tezos. With over 10 million users, Crypto.com is the easiest place to buy and sell over 90 cryptocurrencies. Download the Crypto.com app now and get $25 with the code LAURA. If you're a hodler, Crypto.com Earn pays industry-leading interest rates on over 30 coins, including Bitcoin, at up to 8.5% interest and up to 14% interest on your stablecoins. When it's time to spend your crypto, nothing beats the Crypto.com Visa card, which pays you up to 8% back instantly and gives you 100% rebate for your Netflix, Spotify, and Amazon Prime subscriptions. There is no annual or monthly fees to worry about. Download the Crypto.com app and get $25 when using the code LAURA, L-A-U-R-A. The link is in the description. Today's episode is sponsored by EY Blockchain. Ernst & Young is committed to supporting integration of the world's business ecosystems on the public Ethereum blockchain. Join our 5th annual Blockchain Summit and Education Series on May 18th to 21st for a deep dive into zero-knowledge privacy technologies, accounting, and tax rules, as well as the future of finance. Sign up and learn more at ey.com/Global Blockchain Summit or blockchain.ey.com. Back to my conversation with Nick Tomaino. So one other thing that has been happening now that NFTs are taking off and normies are entering crypto is that we've seen a lot of pushback against proof of work mining increase. And I wondered, how do you see these environmental concerns affecting mainstream adoption? And what do you think is the best way to address that?
All cryptocurrencies are narrative based, and I think this is a narrative that is certainly picking up steam, and it's particularly picked up steam within the art community. It kind of, with Elon's tweet, last week, it's gone even crazier. But a couple of months ago, there was a lot within the crypto art community actually, talking about this, and artists tend to, I think, be socially minded, and they actually were talking about this first. And there was a segment of Ethereum artists who left to go to a platform on Tezos, for example, because Ethereum is still proof of work and Tezos is proof of stake. So I'm TBD on like how big of a impact this has in the long term.
Wait, because Ethereum's moving to proof of stake, or why?
Well, I just mean like people caring about this environmental proof of work narrative generally. Like,
wait, really? I feel like it's just getting worse.
Well, it seems to be right now, but I don't know. It seems to be, particularly from people that don't like Bitcoin, that don't see value in Bitcoin. And I listened to actually part of your podcast last week. I think you had some really good guys. I forget who.
Oh, Alex Gladstein and James McGinnis talking about proof of work and the environmental impact.
Yes. Yeah. That was a great
show.
podcast.
Yeah. If people missed that, they should listen to that.
And again, I don't like. I spend all my time on like new products in cryptocurrency, so I don't understand much of what's going on or have much time to devote to environmental stuff. But from my perspective, it's a narrative that people seem to care about at this current moment. But the main reason they care about it is because they don't see utility in Bitcoin. And so I think as more people care about Bitcoin and more people around the world recognize, the utility of Bitcoin, I think that, that the narrative could die. I mean, one thing I was thinking about is like, if you think about Tesla, right? Tesla, obviously, electric cars, better for the environment, but why do people buy Teslas? I'm sure there are some people that buy it for that, but like, I have a Tesla. I have a lot of friends that have Teslas, and all the people I know, they didn't buy it because, it's great for the environment. They bought it because it's a great product. And it's great that it's great for the environment, but it's compared to any other car, it's just the best product, I think. I think in the long run, the best products will win, and the environmental stuff will prove to be a bit overblown. That's my kind of view. I also recognize that environmental issues are becoming increasingly important, and this could be kind of a blind spot for me. But that's kind of my view.
I will have to disagree with you. So we'll have to check back in a few years, because from my perspective, I think that people are viewing climate change as becoming a worse problem that should have been addressed longer ago. And so the more time that elapses with it not being addressed, the worse the problem gets and the harder it is to fix it. So I feel like kind of the desperation of people who care about that issue is getting even stronger moment by moment. I mean, now with this new administration being more friendly to environmental initiatives, that might lessen. But yeah, so we'll have to see how this plays out.
Well, but I don't disagree with that, though. But I think what I'm saying is that, like, a lot of people that are saying this about Bitcoin don't understand the facts of what actually is better for the environment, like, the traditional fiat system and payment infrastructure or Bitcoin. Like, there's no doubt that people are going to increasingly care about the environment, but I just think the narrative, the reality is different than the narrative, and as the product of Bitcoin proves to be more and more useful, the mainstream kind of perception of that will adjust for that. That's kind of
Yeah. And actually, this goes back to that episode that you referred to, because in that episode, Alex Gladstein of the Human Rights Foundation gives a really detailed description of how the US dollar is essentially something called a petrodollar, and how it's basically fossil fuel money. And
Yep.
so it is interesting that Bitcoin is taking the brunt of this criticism when actually the US dollar really is heavily tied to fossil fuels. So all right, so let's switch tracks. We kind of keep going off on tangents. So I have a whole host of other topics I wanted to touch on. So Ethereum is facing issues with scaling to layer 2 quickly enough to meet demand. And I don't know if you saw this tweets from that Kane Warwick of Synthetics had in it. He talked about how this problem has given a foothold to competitors like Binance Smart Chain and Solana. And I wondered, for you as an investor, like, how are you and your portfolio companies thinking about how to scale? Like, there's this period now where kind of DeFi is a bit fragmented in layer 2. So are you advising portfolio companies to all try to go on the same layer 2? Or are you having them check out building on other protocols entirely? Or, how do you think this period is going to play out?
Well, I would say it reminds me a lot of kind of the 2015, 16 era of of crypto, where there was Bitcoin that was working really well, that had a really passionate community of people. And then something else came along, like Ethereum, that the tribal Bitcoiners didn't like and thought everything was going to happen on Bitcoin. And people are still. I think there's still people out there that are waiting for Rootstock or some of these side chains initiatives. Right? There's still people that think DeFi is going to happen on Bitcoin, and it just shows you how biased people are, and how tribal people in crypto are. Right? So I use that example to say, like, look, we're incredibly bullish on Ethereum and the Ethereum ecosystem. Pretty much everything we've invested in as a fund to date, all the applications have been on Ethereum, and it's working really well. But I'm not someone who thinks everything is going to happen on Ethereum, right? That view gets you a lot of likes on Twitter. It's kind of playing the card of the tribe, right? But I think one thing I've always liked about Ethereum is kind of a more open ethos. And while there are some of these tribal people, within, I mean, like Vitalik is not himself tribal at all, and the culture of Ethereum is more open and inclusive, and it's always been. And so I hope the Ethereum community can kind of follow Vitalik's lead on that, and be open-minded to the idea of not everything happening on Ethereum. I think just like in 2016, like there are a lot of some promising initiatives at the layer 2 that are bringing scalability to Ethereum, and some of that stuff may happen. It's probably going to take a lot longer than we think. And I think if you're a crypto art marketplace where people are buying piece of crypto art for thousands of dollars, then paying $50 or $90 for a transaction is okay, right? But for a $100 asset within a game or something, it's just not viable. I don't want to dismiss layer 2 because Matic, we have a few portfolio companies in particular that are using Matic right now, and
Polygon.
I think Polygon, yeah, everyone still says Matic, but
right. It's a more unique name, but anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, we're very excited about other layer 1 chains like Polkadot and Cosmos that are bringing in new developers, enabling new use cases that Ethereum simply can't support right now, right? And those use cases, the naysayers will say, well, where are those new use cases? These platforms have been around for many years now, but it feels to me like we're in like the 2017 period for Ethereum, where back in 2017 it was all speculation. There wasn't billions of dollars tied up, in Ethereum smart contracts. I think we're kind of in that period for other layer 1s, and I think it's still. I'm open-minded. Like I don't have a strong view on, which of those are going to win. How I think about it is that it's likely going to be a platform that offers something kind of new and different. So I don't love when I hear like a platform just talking about scalability benefits and just like kind of executing the Ethereum idea better. What I'm most excited about is like kind of new ideas that are pushing the space forward in different ways. So what I mean by this, one example is governance, right? Like Polkadot has this radical approach to on-chain governance, and Ethereum is all about governance minimization, right? And kind of Vitalik has never been in favor of kind of on-chain governance. And I think something like Polkadot and their radical approach to on-chain governance is this kind of fundamentally new idea to crypto that is pushing the space forward. Whereas something like Binance Smart Chain or Solana, they're really copying Ethereum and just trying to do it better. And I don't think that's likely to really push the space forward and win in the long term. Although I could be wrong.
Oh, this is so fascinating, everything that you just said. So a couple of different questions. So first of all, earlier when you said that some of your portfolio companies were on Polygon or Matic, is that because you kind of tried to get a bunch of them onto the same layer 2? Like, do you feel that this period where the different smart contracts can be fragmented on different layer 2s is a problem?
No, like we don't really push. We'll give our feedback, but like we let our portfolio companies kind of do their own thing, right? So we're not necessarily directing them to any one layer 2. What I would say is I'm pretty excited about bridges that it kind of make layer 2s interoperable. Actually, one of our portfolio companies started as Ethereum, which was a smart contract wallet, and they've kind of pivoted to creating Hop Exchange, which is kind of a bridge that makes it easy to go from one layer 2 to another. And I think that's something that that is interesting and that could play out. And Hop's not the only one. There's another one I think called Connects. So there are teams that are working on like making this seamless. And I think the truth is there's not one layer 2 solution that has enough kind of momentum that there's one clear one to go to, right? They all have different trade-offs. Like DYDX is in our fund one. I know you've had Antonio on before.
Yeah.
One of the most underrated products in DeFi, I think, and they're building on Starkware, right? And Starkware has its own set of pros and cons that Antonio really liked. So I think it's still kind of wide open, and I'm all for kind of different experimentation. And I think that in the long run, it's possible that they are connected, but it may be clunky. It may make sense to be on another chain as well. Like I'm not someone that thinks everything needs to be on Ethereum, although I do think Ethereum has as good a chance of any as being the long-term winner.
Okay, yeah, that was my other question for you. Is just it sort of seems like what you're saying is that you feel like for a smart contract platform that Ethereum kind of has the lead, and that it's going to be hard for anybody else to take that mantle. And so that's why for anything else, like you wouldn't, if you're going to invest in something that even seems slightly competitive, it has to have a different feature, like what you were saying about Polkadot and its governance. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about Polkadot, because I mean, you have really invested in a lot of Polkadot ventures, Polkadot itself, Kusama, Akala, Edgar, and so I wanted to hear a little bit more about how you don't view it as competitive, because I'm sure you're well aware there are many people in Ethereum who do view it as competitive.
I don't know. Is it competitive or is it kind of cooperative, right? I view like Bitcoin, I guess it depends how you look at it, right? But like, I think how we should look at it is that projects that are pushing the space forward are only good for, the existing, incumbents, right? Which I would say Bitcoin and Ethereum are. So, like Ethereum, while it's cut into the market share of Bitcoin, I would argue it's been very positive for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin wouldn't have the market cap that it has now if Ethereum wasn't around. Because Ethereum, all the innovation stuff, DeFi and NFTs that we've talked about, that's bringing new people to the space, it's Ethereum. So I think we should be open-minded about the fact in the Ethereum community that like there could be something else that comes along. Could it cut into, if you're looking at the total pie of smart contract platforms, could it cut into the pie? Yes, but I think it would grow the pie immensely, and potentially thinking about it as kind of cooperative rather than competitive, I think is a more healthy way to look at this. But yeah, I would say what I like about Polkadot, and particularly like the radical approach to on-chain governance, is this idea of like a 12-member council, right, that is making decisions. And there are great things about governance minimization. It makes it tough to change. If you have like a product that just exists, it's a good approach. And so it's good for something like a store of value like Bitcoin. Maybe it's good for like a DEX that just works like Uniswap. But if you're any type of product that like needs to rapidly evolve, that I think the $100 billion question is, how do you create some type of decentralized governance that can actually evolve? No one's really done that, right? Ethereum effectively has the same governance as Bitcoin. It's been really slow to evolve. It's been able to evolve better than Bitcoin because Vitalik's the benevolent dictator who's still around and kind of rally, the whole group, right? But I'm very excited about this idea of like a decentralized governance that gives power to token holders, but can evolve faster than the governance minimization approach that we're kind of seeing as commonplace in crypto today. And that's kind of the promise of something like Polkadot. And I think the Polkadot governance is wildly like unappreciated and unexplored. And I'm not saying it's like fully fleshed out and it's necessarily working great yet, but I think this idea of like, voting in a council, the council can make decisions quick, but if the majority of token holders disagree with the decisions, they can vote against those decisions so that the council doesn't have unilateral power. I think that is a really powerful idea that's going to exist in some kind of way, shape, or form in the future. And that's why I like that Polkadot's really bring something new to the table that no one else in crypto is really doing.
Yeah, I'm also hugely fascinated by these governance issues, and that's something I'm really keeping my eye on. But let's switch tacks for a moment. I wanted to ask about Coinbase, because obviously, as we discussed, you were an early employee there. And I'm sure you're well aware, oftentimes in crypto, there's this comparison made between investments made at the protocol level and investments made in applications. And I was curious, as somebody who probably just experienced a nice little windfall from the Coinbase direct listing, but who also has probably made a lot of money via tokens themselves. What's your take on that fat protocols thesis? Can the earnings from applications still compete with the earnings from protocols?
I think the upside is just greater if you're a cryptocurrency based project. I think kind of what we've seen over the past 3 months with even Coinbase's valuation, right? The fact that Cardano, again, not to bring it up again, but is valued more, like I think has like a 50% higher valuation than Coinbase right now, shows that for whatever reason, this like new paradigm of crypto, people think about value differently. Well, not for whatever reason. I think a big reason is that anyone can participate. So you have just a bigger pie of potential investors, right? And that's a big piece of it. And yeah, I mean, the Coinbase IPO was great in the sense that for the people that pay attention to Wall Street and read the New York Times and care about that world, it was more validation for crypto. But I think it wasn't that big of a deal to crypto people. And I'm a crypto person, right? So like a token as a way to capture value is kind of definitely the model that I believe in more. So I mean, I haven't sold any of my Coinbase stock. I'm kind of believer in Coinbase as this utility for the ecosystem, but in terms of where I see upside, it's very much in the cryptocurrencies rather than the companies that are trading on Wall Street.
Okay, so maybe the fat protocols thesis is still in place. So, as we discussed earlier, you've invested a lot in these various DeFi protocols. What sort of threat do you think DEXs and other decentralized applications or DeFi in general could pose to Coinbase eventually?
Um, I think it's definitely a threat. I don't think it's a huge threat. I mean, it's a threat to Coinbase's crypto to crypto business, but the moat that Coinbase has is the regulatory moat, right? And the bridge to fiat currencies. And so DeFi is not going to be able to play there. I don't think. I mean, there's been initiatives. I remember there was like an Omise Go one many years ago, but I think there's still more money that's outside of crypto than in crypto, and being a on ramp to crypto is a good business. So I don't know. I like people in crypto. It's again, it's this like tribal nature that like Uniswap, winning and Coinbase losing or something like that. But I think that's because people are tribal and competitive, but like it's more cooperative and collaborative. And I think Dex is growing. I actually see as good for Coinbase because more people are getting utility out of cryptocurrency. That's going to bring more people in. That's good for the core Coinbase business model. So I don't know. I've never viewed Coinbase as like a super innovative company that's like doing new products to push the space forward in a big way. It's just like this utility for the ecosystem that I think works really well. It's really valuable, and it's good at executing. And I think there's certainly room for that to exist, and DEXs to exist and thrive.
All right. So let's kind of pull this all together just for the rest of the year. Obviously, this bull cycle has been super interesting because, at least to my eyes, it has been driven by a few different things. Obviously, there's this trend with Bitcoin being taken up by institutions in a big way. As we've discussed, NFTs taking off amongst normies. And then DeFi kind of had its moment, but the gas fees kind of limit, who can participate in that. And, for whatever other trend you want to pull together, where do you see the rest of this year going? Which I think most people would say they're expecting, this bull cycle to last kind of through that period.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the cycle. And, I always say, like, I'm not a trader. I'm not good at timing markets. But I could tell you the types of new products that I'm most excited about that I think we could see an explosion in are what I call DeFi and NFTs for the masses, right? I think, as you alluded to, and we talked about the fees on Ethereum right now for vast majority of Ethereum applications price out the masses, right? It's like it's still mostly rich people and crypto rich, and I think that needs to change. I think, and I think that's going to change once we see applications on new chains and we see layer twos really thriving. And so I'm really excited about people being able to make a Uniswap trade for $100, right, and buy $100 worth of Ethereum really easily. People buying a $100 or a $50 NFT on OpenSea within a game. Things like that, I think, is likely to be the next leg up for crypto. Whether that happens in the next 6 months or it takes a couple of years, I'm not sure. But for us, that's what we're kind of going to be investing in over the next several years, and I think it's a good long-term bet.
And then earlier, when you were talking about Polkadot and the governance, I was curious also for your take on certain things that a lot of people are interested in, but haven't really taken off yet, but you think, will in the future. And I wondered if DAOs was one of them. And if there's anything else that you see on the horizon that you want to mention, I'd like to hear what you're seeing there and where you think it'll go.
Yeah, I think DAOs are already happening, right? And I think there's a lot of people that have kind of anointed DAOs as the next thing after DeFi and NFTs, right? I don't know. I mean, I'm not super bullish on that as DAOs being like a thing that really brings in new people. I think DAOs on-chain treasuries, are happening, and voting on how to allocate funds in an on-chain treasury, that's happening for many Ethereum projects and Polkadot projects now. I think an open question is like, will there be a product or a tool that makes it easy for anyone to spin up their own DAO, for anything? And that's something that I've been excited about, but there's challenges with it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm bullish on DAO, right? Anyone who's in cryptocurrency is like, Bitcoin was the first DAO. Any truly decentralized cryptocurrency is in effect a DAO. I'd love to see an explosion of DAOs. I haven't seen any product that is enabling that. I guess another category that I'm very excited about, that I think we will see in the next 5 years, I don't know if it's going to be 1 year or 5 years, is decentralized media, right? And NFTs itself is kind of a version of decentralized media. We all see the issues with the centralized social media companies, for example. Can someone kind of crack the code, if you will, and create a product that people really want to use because of the product, not just because of the investment opportunity, right? And we've seen things like Steam in the past, and BitClout now, which is trying to like bootstrap this thing by getting people excited from speculation. And I'm not super bullish on that. I'm more bullish on like something crypto native that the crypto community really gets behind from a product perspective, and that's something new and different that ultimately, the whole world uses. I think that will happen like in the next 5 years. I don't think it's been built yet.
All right. Okay. Well, this has been such a fascinating discussion. I'm so glad we were able to connect. Where can people learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, I guess just go to 1confirmation.com. That's our site. 1confirmation on Twitter. I'm also NT Money on Twitter. Follow Richard Chen as well, my partner, Richard Chen 39 on Twitter. And that's about it.
All right, great. Well, thanks so much for coming on Unchained.
Thanks, Laura. It was fun. I appreciate you.
Thanks so much for joining us today. To learn more about Nick and 1confirmation, check out the show notes for this episode. Sign up for my newsletter to get the top crypto news of the day and to find out how to pre-order my book, The Cryptopians: Idealism, Greed, Lies, and the Making of the First Big Cryptocurrency Craze. You can sign up right on the homepage at unchainedpodcast.com. Unchained is produced by me, Laura Shin, with help from Anthony Yoon, Daniel Nuss, and Mark Murdoch. Thanks for listening.